That's a great bit. Hey, hello. Welcome to our ISTE 22 Conference Tips webinar. We're super excited you're here. So we just recorded the preview show, and now we're recording the webinar. This Conference Tips webinar, this webinar, as well as the previous show, are going to be available on a giant slide deck of resources that's going to have our session picks on it. It's going to have the playground schedule and resources on it. We're going to add a collaborative notes thing, which we might touch on here in this one as well here in a little bit. But we're so excited you're joining us. And so I'm going to take a minute and let our hosts introduce themselves. In addition to introducing yourself, hosts, I want you to give your best conference tip. So the tip that you think every person, just one, you got to limit it to one, but what is your best conference tip that you think people need to know? It can be ISTE specific or just conference in general, doesn't matter. When you introduce yourself, say where you're from. Also give us your best tip. All right, we're gonna lead off with Diana. I put these in no particular order on these slides, just like I think how you were on the calendar invite. So that's how these orders came from.
All right, so I'm Diana Rendina. I'm the librarian at Tampa Preparatory School in Tampa, Florida. I had to do the math earlier, but I think this is my 6th ISTE that I've been to. And I've been a school librarian for 12 years. So my best, if I just could only pick one tip, I think the biggest one for me is to stay hydrated and pack snacks. Because I have this very strong memory of my first ISTE in Atlanta. I skipped breakfast one day because I was like, oh, I'll just find some food in the vendor hall. And I just had this one point where I was so starving that I just I don't know, I crashed some vendor event where they had free food and I had no interest in the vendor whatsoever. I just needed to eat something. So don't do that. Pack some snacks and don't let yourself get super hangry.
That is great advice. I do that all the time. I get to the point where I'm so busy and I'm just like, I'm starving. Does anyone have any food? I'll take that half-eaten hot dog bun that you didn't eat out of your thing. All right, Andy.
Hi, my name is Andy Clemens. I am the school library media specialist at Barrow Elementary in Athens, Georgia. This will be my second time coming to ISTE. My first one was in Atlanta. And this is my 22nd year in education, 14 years in the library. And probably my top pick for tips would be to know when you need a break. Because there are tons of people, tons of information, and you may reach a moment like me and my introverted self where I've had it. I've had all the people, I've had all the content that I can take, and I need a moment to myself. So don't be afraid to take that. You can always catch up through notes or Twitter or chatting with people later, but definitely take a break for yourself and don't plan every second of the day.
All the Nancy Joe you can take. Every conference, you're like,
I didn't say that.
I'm going to go rest. You cannot convince me to stay here 1 second longer. He does take good rests. I will say that. He always takes care of himself. I don't. Okay. We're going to skip me and we're going to go to James Allen. I don't know why you're muted. Okay, we're going to skip you. There you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. I should know how to do that by now. My name is James Allen. I am the statewide school library person in Kentucky. I work for the Kentucky Department of Education. I'm also, I guess, a community helper person with ISTE and then helping organize the Librarians Playground with Nancy Joe. The tip is so hard. I think hopefully people aren't offended. I usually have a backup plan if I'm going to a session, have a second or third session in mind. Because sometimes, I don't know, the descriptions are good, but you get there and it's just not exactly your cup of tea, I guess. And having a place to go and not, wasting that whole 45 or 50 minutes is a good idea, I think.
All right. And Amy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amy Herman. I'm a high school librarian, and I live and work in Metro Detroit. I'm also the host of School Librarians United podcast. And to tag on what Diana said, so there's a big difference because you think you want to bring this, okay? You think you're like, okay, I'm going to be smart and bring one of these. These are heavy. They are metal, and you know what? You're going to regret it. There are water fountains everywhere. What you want to do is find some little cheapo plastic thing like this, and obviously empty it before you get on the plane, and it weighs nothing. And then when you get to the conference, you fill it up, it's nothing. And I learned that was that I'm just tagging on to what Diana said. But yeah, reconsider bringing this, because it's fine for walking around school, but not for walking around all day at a conference. Okay. My pro tip for a conference of this size is to be courageous, and just when you see somebody and you're like, that's the person I want to talk to. You know, the school librarians, we are a very small but mighty interest group in ISTE, and when you go to a conference like this, there are more than 10,000 attendees, and unfortunately school librarians do not make up the majority of those. And I think we're so accustomed to going to our state conferences, which might be considerably smaller, to our ISTE affiliates. I know our ISTE affiliate in Detroit, if we get 4,000, 5,000 people there, that's a lot. We're looking at more than 10,000 attendees. Throw in all your presenters. The best tip I can give you is when you see other school librarians, just go up and like, hey, hi, I know you from Twitter. You know, I mean, be that person, because honestly, it is so fun connecting with school librarians. This is a great conference for us to be at, because there is so much technology that we rely on and we need to grow and learn from one another. But sometimes on a conference this scale, it's easy to feel like I just don't know where my people are. So when you do see us, definitely like, I know you from Twitter, I know you from social, I've seen you on, you know, definitely go up and say hi, because there are so many people I only know on virtually. And so I have learned, you know what, just get over it and go and say hi, and you won't be sorry.
Absolutely. That is such a good tip. I'm Nancy Jo Lambert. I was the last ISTE Librarians Professional Learning Network president before they disbanded the PLNs and went to the community leader format, of which I'm a community leader this year for ISTE as well. I organized the playground, or I assisted in the organization of the playground in 2019 when we were in Philly, and then I'm doing it again this year. So if you haven't checked out the preview show, which is the sister show that we just recorded, it's going to be on this. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see. So this whole kit right here, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you up front. Is going to be under bit.ly/ISTE22lib resources. So this is going to be the link to this entire kit of resources. And within this resource, there's information, the preview show, which we just recorded, which will be embedded here when it finishes processing, our session pics, which are linked here, and then the playground schedule, as well as the presentations and or videos associated with each playground presentation are all linked here. So this slide deck is going to be your go-to before ISTE, during ISTE, after ISTE, with all the info you need. So just announced today, we're going to be having a social Sunday, June 26th at 8 p.m. We're going to be meeting up at Bar Marilou. It is a book-themed bar, appropriate for school librarians, librarians in general. So do come, and we're going to just kind of hang out. And I feel like doing this at the front of the conference is a really good idea, because then we can kind of meet people, get some of that socialization. And then when we're in sessions and seeing each other in the hall and we're scurrying from one thing to the next, we're not going to be so tied down to, I want to talk to you, but I have to go. So this will be a really good upfront time for all of us to get together and connect and network. So make sure you show up. We will tweet it from the ISTE Lib account, and it'll be around. So make sure that you show up for this. So back to this show, I was telling our hosts a little bit ago when I was like, there's even less structure to this show than there was the previous show. But in the past, the Librarian Network used to do a preview show, and in it we would do conference tips, and it just kept getting longer and longer and longer. So I was like, this time let's do a separate show where we just talk about sessions and the playground, and then we're going to do a separate show with conference tips and that kind of thing. So that being said, Amy, lead off.
Oh, okay. So, so much to say, but I've only been to one other ISTE, and that was ISTE 19. And I feel like really once you've been to one, you have a very good understanding of just how different this type of conference experience is, because it's an international conference, and it's wonderful and it's fantastic, but you also have to appreciate this is not on the same level as your state conferences. So when I go to my state conference for librarians, we're looking at less than 300 in Michigan. Our ISTE affiliate in Michigan, I think the most we've ever had is maybe 6,000. But I looked at our numbers on the website, and we're looking at just attendees. So just attendees, almost 11,000 people. And it is a very different scale of what you might be used to. And I think that to me, you have to sort of contextualize this experience, because you are dealing with a much bigger space. If you've ever been to like AASL, there's something very intimate about AASL, because everybody there is or has been or will be a school librarian at some point in their careers. We're going to be in a very, very large space, and it's easy to feel like I need to find where my people are, which is where social media is going to really, really help us out in that respect. But I think that the first thing that I noticed, having been to one of these before, is just everything is on a much bigger scale. And you have to be a lot more forgiving if it takes you a while to acclimate to that space, because whereas in my state conferences, I could, see all the presentation rooms on this hall and down this hall, and I had a sense of the space because we were in one room and one building. But I'm guessing we're going to be branching out, and it's going to be occupying a great deal more space than any conference you've ever attended. I've never been to anything bigger. So to me, I just have to recognize this is a really big event, and you will find us. We are all around, but appreciate the scale. And for that reason alone, my next pro tip is seriously consider your shoe choice. I am no fashion plate, and but I have very strong feelings when it comes to conference shoe wear. And I wear hiking boots. I do. I forget about the ballet flats. You will regret your choice the minute you step foot into that conference hall, because you will be hiking from one end to the other. And I got to tell you, I come ready for a day of walking. And I wear my hiking boots, my little ankle hiking boots. They're fantastic. Cushion socks. Don't wear anything new you haven't never worn before. It's a lot like prepping for a race, because you don't want to be breaking those shoes in while you're also trying to navigate everything else. So I'll hand it off. My first pro tip is, fashion be damned. Bring your hiking boots and your comfy socks.
And I counteract everything Amy just said with every single one of my shoe choices at every conference.
You're just stubborn.
That's right, I am. Obstinate, as I tell my daughter all the time. Stop being obstinate. But yeah, no, that's really good advice. And the older I get, the worse my feet get. So I probably should make wiser shoe choices, but I probably won't. So let's see. I was going to say too, to piggyback off of what Amy said, ISTE is a very different conference in that the sessions will fill up very quickly. So you either need to, if there's sessions you really, really, really want to get into, go by the room in advance. You may have to leave the previous session early to go get in line if it's going to be a really, really popular session. So you may have to decide what you're going to sacrifice to get to that session. And then the other thing is, if the session gets full, you want to have a backup session, which I think James mentioned in his pro tip, is to have, backup and backup sessions. And I usually have like a backup session that I can go to. And then I usually am looking at what other posters and playgrounds are happening at that time, because those are also great choices. And another thing about the posters sessions and the playgrounds is sometimes there's lines at those too. So you get into a line to get into a playground or a poster session, especially for some of the bigger playgrounds and things like that. So just when you're packing your schedule and building your schedule, what you can do in the app, favorite things and add things from multiple different types of things. So even if a session is full or a playground is too long of a wait, you have other things that you can go to maximize your time. Diana, it looks like you had some things to add on there. And also, Diana, I want you to talk about the blog post that we retweeted from the ISTE Lib account. I retweeted it because I read it and I was like, "Ooh, such good stuff in here." Retweet. And so if I could make the whistle sound, I would, but I can't because I don't know how to whistle. But Diana, go ahead and piggyback off of whatever I was going to say, and then also talk about your blog post.
Sure. Yeah. So what I was going to kind of piggyback off of that was talking about the app. I think a big thing for me, I'm kind of like a little bit obsessive about planning things. And so like I will over plan everything. But for conferences like this, the app is really helpful. Like I've actually been the past couple of days just going through and favoriting things, just like looking through all the sessions. I've used the filters. It's like in the app, you can filter just librarian sessions or just makerspace sessions. You can search by presenters. So if you know you have favorite presenters and you really want to catch them, you can go and like search by them. So having a lot of like possibilities, but at the same time, like, I think it's important to let go of like your fear of missing out, because it's like, it is impossible to not miss out on something. Like there are so many sessions and there's so many great speakers at the same time. Like I just realized that LeVar Burton is speaking at the same time as the playground. And I'm like, oh, it's LeVar Burton. So you're going to miss out on something. So I think just kind of like accepting that it's okay to miss out on things is a part of it too. But at the same time, also planning so you have options. So talking about, so I tweeted out earlier.
I want to say too, Diana, I think that this conference is going to be a hybrid. So there are going to be some sessions that are recorded. So if it is a session that's going to be recorded, that's going to be available in the app after, you might want to prioritize your choices that are for the sessions that aren't being recorded. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. Yeah, so earlier today I tweeted out a post. It's kind of, it's old-ish. It's like 5 years old, but it's called the best stuff to pack for big education conferences. And this post was basically me just realizing that there's these things that I always pack and take with me to big conferences. And like when I talk to other people, they're like, oh, that's such a great idea. And to me, like I had just taken it for granted. So I just kind of put it all together. So it's got like suggestions for ways to organize your tech gear, like having all your charging cables, having some kind of power brick to charge your phone. There was actually one, I think it was in like ASL in Columbus. I had the older iPhone and like literally no one had that kind of charger anymore. And so having to like search all over to find something to charge my phone, don't do that. Like have everything you need. Having a power strip is helpful too. Let's see, I was talking about the folder thing was the thing you put, which is so funny because to me that seems like I almost felt like that was kind of like a little throwaway line, but like
no, that was my favorite piece. I was like, why have I never thought of that?
Like, I almost didn't even put it in there because I'm like, this just feels like this is too obvious. I don't know. But
no,
so
it wasn't.
Yeah, so just having like a plastic folder to put like handouts and like business cards and vendor literature. And I try not to take too much vendor literature. Like I just take the stuff I know I want to read.
Yes.
But I mean,
I always end up with that stuff crumpled in the bottom of my backpack.
Yeah,
like
or you find it like 6 months later when you're cleaning out your backpack and you're like, oh yeah, that's where that QR code for that presentation went.
Yes.
So yeah, having just a folder to organize your stuff, it really helps a lot.
Snaps for that.
Yes. And so then other things like having a notebook, having your own business cards, Amy, I wish I had planned ahead of time to make stickers and conference ribbons. I didn't, but having stickers, I love that. That's such a cool thing.
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
and then, oh, it's
Yeah,
okay.
definitely conference ribbons, like the little, and actually, selfishly, it's how I can find us, because if I see you have a conference ribbon from me, then I know you and I have talked. And if you don't have a conference ribbon from me, just flag me down.
It's
I have
like
them in the little
tagging.
pocket.
It's like how scientists tag things in the wild.
Yes, in the wild.
We're like geotag.
You're one of my specimens. Hello.
So along the same lines of Diana's
You should start numbering them.
I do. Hey, they have little chips in them, little RIFD chips.
Right?
Just with your Sharpie, write on them. Specimen 75. Hey.
These little coin purses serve lots of purposes, but I'm very fortunate this year. My last ISTE was my birthday present to myself. I paid for it out of pocket. And that's because my last district didn't recognize the importance of sending their teachers to conferences. But we have since moved on, and we're not bitter, just a little bit. But my new district will reimburse me for my conference costs, and minus the alcohol. So I have a system, and I know you can digitize your receipts. I know but I'm old school. Like, people hand you a receipt for your Uber or for your, whatever it is. And I have a designated place for the receipt. It sounds dumb, but after 4 days, you may find that you're looking for the receipts and you're just like, forget it. I'll just, eat the cost. Anyway, but for me, I found that, especially with my new district, because they'll reimburse me, having a designated place where those receipts are going to go. And you have to be sober enough to remember to put the receipt in there, because I did file for my receipts after AASL and I couldn't find one, and then I remembered why. But if you have a place for your receipts, then you will be glad when it comes to filling out those reimbursement forms for your district.
Well, and I want to say, like, I keep two. So these, you'll notice these are two different colors, distinct colors, because one has like my personal items in it, like Tylenol and, I don't really, I think lotion and like chapstick and stuff. And then the other one has like my stickers and my ribbons and some business, like all the sort of random stuff. So then whenever I'm, in my backpack, I just grab the right one, and I have a little pouch in my backpack. And so then I have all that stuff in it, and I hold it in my hand, because, people are always giving stuff to you. And then when I get to the next thing, or I stick it in my pocket, then I put it in the appropriate little slot. And I ordered business cards so I'm going to talk about business cards for just a second. I ordered business cards from Vistaprint, and it was like $7 or $5, something super cheap to get one of these little holders. So I put other people's on one side, and then I have mine on the other. And so I keep those in there, and it has a neat little pouch here. And then the other thing about business cards, since I'm in control of the screen, I'm going to pull up something over here on the screen for you. So I have this, it's called Blink, BLINQ, and it has a little QR code here, and you can put it on your phone, like in your camera roll or wherever is handy for you, or a Google Keep Note, and then it automatically has all that information. So it's just a neat little digital way to pass out your business card if you're real quick, like, oh, here's my QR code. And then most phones will convert the QR code into a contact if you want it to. So that's handy too. And then my last thing from my conference bag I want to talk about is I don't know what this thing is called. But I used to have to, back in the day, we used to have to carry like 5 different dongles for all the different possible. Everybody's nodding their head. If you've ever presented very much, the struggle is real. And so I present from my MacBook. I use my MacBook, and all I needed was this guy. Now this guy was like $100 when I purchased him, but he has all the different, he has the USB-C, he's got USB ports, he's got the display port, the HDMI, the VGA. I can also put my power cord in here. This is my presentation cord. So it's just one little guy with all the possible things that one might need. And so if you present very much, or you use your computer in multiple facets like I do, something like this is so much better than anything. And then you're always prepared. I can't tell you how many conferences I've been at where my friends have come up to me and been like, I don't have the right thing. Can I borrow that thing that you are always talking about that you have so I can present? So, and I'm always like, if you do not give this back to me, I will end you. Oh, wait, one more thing. So I picked this up in a vendor hall this last year at a conference I was at, and it's just a little like mirror, because I'm always like wanting to check, do I have something in my teeth? I get very self-conscious about my teeth at conferences. So I'm always wanting, and I'm always asking people that are around me, like, do I have anything in my teeth? Because it's like, because I'm always eating like those bars and different things. When there's anything in my teeth. So I love this little tiny mirror that I can put in my thing so I can check my teeth.
Okay, I'm now deciding everybody needs to go up to Nancy Joe when you see her and be like, dude, what, dude? Just do that, drive her nuts. Just drive her nuts.
I will flip out if you come up and you're like, you got something in your teeth. I'm like, what? Show me where. Get it out. Put your finger in there.
All right. I think I've got another one. Oh, I just lost it. Where was it?
All right. Hold on. Let's hear from Andy. Andy, what do you got? We'll come back, Andy.
Well, we've mentioned lots of sessions, but I also want to mention that the vendor hall at ISTE is massive, and you could spend the whole day in there if you wanted to. You'll see your big names, companies that and there will be a lot of presentations offered at those booths as well. So make sure that you take a look at some of your favorite booths, favorite vendors, and see what presentations are often offered there, because a lot of times those presentations are super short, so you can get some information in a little bite-sized package and then move on. Yep. The other thing is that a lot of times, well, the one time that I went to ISTE before, there were a lot of vendors that were in the vendor hall that were startups, companies just getting started. And so it was neat to go and see a tool or a product that was just getting off the ground and be able to talk with people with the company about what they were creating, and then stay in touch with them through Twitter or other forms of social media. And then, collaborate with them as you use whatever that is with your students. So be on the lookout for that too. And don't just go to the big names that are in the vendor hall, because you may find the next product or tool that's, kind of life-changing for you in your space.
I cannot stress that enough, Andy. You're so right. I remember one of my favorites was when I met the quizzes guys. There were two of them, and they were at TCA, and they had one of the tiny little tables, and all they had was like one sign on the table, and they were like, "We're quizzes." I was like, "What is this?" And now they're like a huge thing. And same with Genially. When I started using Genially, and then I saw them at their little table. I want to say it was at ISTE. And I was like, oh my gosh, I love Genially. And they were like, you do. And so now, like, they, getting to communicate with developers and becoming part of their like educators who they, bounce ideas off of, or they're like, will you try this out? Or, hey, use our product, our pro version for the next year for free or whatever. Those situations happen because of exactly what you're saying, Andy.
And I'll say, like, kind of what Andy was saying about the vendor hall, some of the larger vendors have kind of their own little stages set up and mini sessions going on that can be pretty good, especially, like Google and Microsoft and maybe Adobe. But like, if there's tools that you're using in your school, those might be good things to either, go in the vendor hall and check out their schedule and see if there's anything good that you want to see.
Can I also throw in about the vendor hall? Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
No. Okay, so about the vendor hall, pre-printing labels, your address labels, like 5160s. So just printing out a sheet of nothing but your mailing address, so that, there are a lot of times you go up to those tables, and this happens even on small state conferences, but they'll have drawings And if you want to enter the drawing, you have to fill out this little, tear off slip, and then you throw it in the little goldfish bowl. But if you pre-print your school mailing address with your title on it, you can just stick those little adhesive labels to the ticket and throw it in to be considered for. And it really sucks because some of these tables that are giving away stuff get very backed up, and you do to the point that you can't even see what it is they're giving away. And you're just like, there's just a lot of people, I want it. So you have those address labels ahead of time, and you just stick them to whatever they are drawing from. When you're talking, Diana talked about the app. Don't let the conference be the first time you look at the app. It's the user interface, knowing how to filter those sessions, like Diana was saying, filter by audience, filter by format. You need to be in the sessions already. And so when you're looking at the ISTE app, I actually moved it to my front screen. Move it to, take something out like your Sam's Club or whatever it is. Move your ISTE up to the front so it's right there where you can easily get it. And once you open it up, if you want to see the sessions and then go ahead and filter them, just open up all sessions, and then you can filter them from there. But it does take a little navigating. Don't let the first time you do this be the start of the conference. And lastly, bring a sweater. I know everybody has been posting how ridiculously hot it is in New Orleans, and which is why y'all should move this to Detroit. But I'm telling you, inside, when we were in Philly, it was an ice box. When we moved around the conference center at Philly, I would walk outside to the next building just to warm up because I was freezing. And it was like every single building was cold. So I'd have my some sort of identifying sweater, something that I could easily figure out, oh, that's mine, and just sort of tuck it in the strap of your backpack. Because while it is going to be hotter than blazes outside, there's a very good chance that you have no control over the thermostat inside.
I was going to see if any of you all know, it's been a while. Maybe I don't think they have the Ignite sessions anymore, but I really enjoyed those back in the day. Kind of like really short, brief, motivational success stories that people gave. I don't see that in the app. And I was looking at the formats of these sessions. I think Snapshot's the only one I don't know what that means. The others seem kind of...
Snapshot are like really short. Like I think there may be like 10, 20 minutes, like just really short, and they kind of rotate out. It's like a little sort of stage area, I think, and they just rotate out people presenting the snapshot things. I wanted to also say a big hearty congratulations to Amanda Jones, because she is one of the featured presenters. Hold on, I'm trying to find it so I can switch over to it. I don't know if I can make it stay, though, is the problem on the website. So I just wanted to, there she is. So I just want to give a big shout out. When we have librarians who because these feature voices, I'm one as well, but you can't like apply or nominate people or anything. They just pick them. I don't even know how they pick them. I don't know if it's the conference programmers or whoever, but so to be selected and have some of our fellow librarians selected for this is really exciting. So make sure that you, if you interact with any conference planners or any of the ISTE board or anything like that at the conference, be sure and as school librarians and librarians advocate for our role in that process, in the conference planning, making sure that we have sessions for us, all that kind of stuff, because they need that feedback from us, and they need to know that that we appreciate what they're doing for us there. So if you have the opportunity, make sure that you show appreciation for them, considering librarians in that process. Oh, and the other thing I was going to say about this is if you click on these people, some people didn't realize this, but if you click on them, it takes you to their bio, and then it takes you to their sessions here. and you can click on these really easily. So that might be also that you just have that up on your browser on your phone. So if there's a certain presenter or something you want to you don't have to go through the app. You can just click on that real fast. And then when you click on there, I'm just going to click on this person here. Since Amanda went away, you can click right here and it tells you all about their session too. So just lots of little, as you go deeper into the conference and picking your sessions and making your schedule and all that kind of stuff. Oh, okay. All right. Who's up next? We lost Diana, but she's back.
I'm back.
Yay. I have another one. I tend to talk, and when I was at ISTE 19, I met somebody at the end of one session, and in my head, I knew how far I had to get to my next session. But we were in such a great conversation that we were talking during the passing time. And then the next session in that room came in and we were still talking. And then the presenters were setting up and we were still talking. We're having this great conversation and I didn't want it to end. And at some point, the person I was talking to was like, oh my gosh, I have to go. And I sort of sat down to sort of get my things together to go to the next session. I sat there and I had no idea who this person was presenting. I had no idea what they were presenting. And I just sat down. It was like a gift. I needed to sit down. I needed to just gather my thoughts. But then I'm watching this session. And sometimes you realize we have it in our heads exactly what we need to see. And we fail to see that there's so many other conference experiences that are out there that if we limit ourselves to only the things that we have it in our heads that we're going to benefit from. I sat through that session and I may not have gotten as much out of it as I might have hoped. But since I was just sort of sitting there, it was just an opportunity. And to not feel the need to absolutely fill every moment with information that is going to benefit you directly, but rather maybe it's information you're going to share out with your staff. It's going to, I think we tend to think about all the things we're going to do in our library spaces. We also have to recognize that big picture, we're supporting the ed tech needs of all the people we represent. And that's really the difference between sending a teacher to ISTE and sending a librarian to ISTE. When you send your librarian to ISTE, you're going to get somebody who is going to, on my radar are the things that in my head I've learned so much about my new building. I'm going to have my ears to the ground with things that I know my teachers would definitely benefit from. Maybe not in my library space, but this is something, I've got earmarked. I'm going to share that when I get home with the people I work with. So it's a big, looking at this big picture, no time is ever wasted at ISTE.
Yeah, on that same note, I think it's important just to remind ourselves that we can learn from people who are outside our subject area or outside the grade levels that we work with too. I can't even name the number of times that I've learned something from a high school educator that I have found some way of using that with students in elementary school. So, and it works the other way too. So just keep your eyes open and give people a try in their sessions. And you just kind of have to listen with a different kind of ear. Like you're just listening to the content they have to say and then thinking about those people that you could share it with or thinking about how it applies in your own space.
Well, and I want to say too, as a mini session and conference attendee person, it's always tempting to want to go up to the presenter at the end of the session and be like, oh my gosh, I love this session, or oh my gosh, I've been trying to meet you for years, or I follow you on Twitter, or whatever the case may be. But just know that the sessions at ISTE are like back to back, and they are using every single room multiple times. And so instead of going up to presenters, and I have to remind myself of this, it feels like every session I go to, instead of going up to the presenter at the end of the session and doing all the things, let them get packed up, let them get their stuff out of the way so the next presenter can get set up, so that the show can go on. Because when we're up there, kind of keeping the presenter from packing up their stuff. And one time I was at TLA and I left as a presenter. I left my computer at the podium and I left. Oh, no. And I had to go back like that evening and get it from like the security people at the convention center, and I didn't even realize I didn't have it until later because I was so busy at that conference. But so just, be very aware of, the presenters' needs and the people coming in for the next session, and kind of, make your way out. And also, like, I've volunteered at every conference I've ever been in, and I've had to be one of the people who's like, everybody out, you have to leave the room completely before we can bring in the next people. And people hate it and they get mad at you. And I'm like, listen, I'm just trying to get the next session, so just know that ISTE is it's a very different pace of conference. And so you just want to be very aware of that as a session attendee, if you're presenting, if you're volunteering, all those things, making sure that things, move, and kind of being aware of that in-person conference etiquette again.
I don't know. As a presenter, I would say, if you're not going to go up and talk to them, which I think is probably a good idea in most cases, I don't know. I appreciate getting tweets from people, or like they enjoyed the session or they liked it. So if you liked the session you go to, reach out to those people and let them know. I think it's good affirmation for those folks that are sharing their resources.
And the session feedback forms too. I feel like so many people don't fill out the conference survey. I fill out every single survey, conference feedback. Like, I try and do that at everything that I go to, because I know how valuable that is to the presenters and the conference planners and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah. All right, as a presenter,
go ahead, Diana. Yeah,
I'm so bad at like figuring out timing on these things still after like 2 years. As a presenter, I really like it. Like, if you're taking a picture, like if you're like, oh, that slide really resonates with me, I want to tweet that out, or like you taking a picture of the presenter, like tagging the presenter in those tweets is really nice, because it's nice for me like to see, oh, like this particular thing really resonated with people. Like, that's something maybe I want to talk about more. Or just honestly, like, I'm really bad about getting pictures of myself presenting, and my school really likes to get pictures of me presenting because then they can share it on social media. So like, take a picture of a presenter presenting and just tag them in it. Like, people really appreciate that. And it's just really nice because you don't always have someone you can hand your phone to like take a picture of you.
All right, we have about 2 minutes left. Any final thoughts? Final conference tips? Conference advice?
Pack food.
Yes.
The things that won't disintegrate in your bag, but your protein bars. You may get the shakes and realize that we aren't anywhere. I don't know how close we are to restaurants, but there are going to be lines for food. So pack your own. If you're like me, I get real, shaky if I don't eat every couple hours. So, and
if you can't pack it on the plane, like when you get there, go by a CVS or, one of the local little stores or whatever around there and pick up a few things. You don't have to bring it with you in your suitcase. I know. So I try and bring only the necessities in my suitcase. And then I try and not pick up stuff in the exhibit hall and bring stuff back because I don't like all the extra stuff. But I do try and budget a little extra of my like spending money. So when I first get there, I get a few things for my hotel room. I get the snacks I need for the conference, that kind of thing. Because you can Uber to a grocery store or whatever you need to do. So don't be thinking, I gotta put everything in my suitcase I'm gonna need for this whole thing, because you can get stuff when you're there. It's okay.
There's one more thing is just you've got the hashtag up here of using ISTE22, but just know that there are other hashtags that you might consider using. I'm sure several people will also use ISTE 2022. That's always a kind of a thing. Not
and
knowing
ISTE Live.
And not at ISTE for people who are not attending. A lot of people use that frequently to share their own learning from afar or to share what you're learning at the conference with people who aren't there.
So a little hack that I do is I start a draft tweet with all the hashtags already in it. And then every time I tweet, I just go in and copy that and then paste it into my next tweet. And then I also will like schedule some tweets so they'll be ready to go, stuff about my own stuff or the playground, all that kind of schedule all that in advance so you don't have to worry about doing it while you're there. But then you can also, you know, put some things in your scheduled tweet, like if you know you're going to this session with those hashtags ready to go, that kind of stuff. Those are just some hacks for those of us that tweet a lot while we're at conferences, to have some of that ready to go so you're not stressing and being like, oh, I meant to do the not at ISTE on this tweet. And, you know, there's no edit button. So
there's not an edit button yet.
I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Figure it out.
It's still so surprising to me that there's not.
All right. Well, that is going to do it for our ISTE conference tips webinar. Thank you for our hosts who were so kindly joined me on this one and the last one as well. The slide I've had up here at the end, this is your link to our kit with every resource that you are going to need to make it in NOLA next week. And I think everybody said it at least once, but I'm going to say it one more time. Be brave, go up, talk to people, introduce yourself. You know, I always find something that I can say about, oh, I love your bag, or where'd you get that ribbon? Or, you know, I always have sometimes I tackle people. It's been known to happen in the conference, in the exhibit halls and sessions when I see people I haven't seen in a long time. So if you ever get tackled, it's probably me. But I want, you know, we want to connect. That's why we're there. Networking is one of the main reasons why I continue to still go to conferences. So make sure that you introduce yourself, connect with people, you know, and make sure that you make time to come to our social that we're going to have on Sunday. All right. Well, we will see you all in New Orleans.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Yay.